Look, JR, you can count to 5 this time.
Well, I mean, I've got up to 20 because I got fingers and toes, man. I'll take my shoes off. We're good.
I know. I was checking to see if you understood.
Look at you fancy with all your fingers and toes, man.
Right? I know they didn't take them from me when I was in the Army, but you never know with Grunt life. Sometimes it'd be like that. All right, so hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans, it's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just 3 nerdy veterans geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. So without further ado, I want to thank the kind folks over there at the Deepfake Videos for getting us Nick on air. We promise it's maybe even almost him, definitely totally not Doc behind the camera operating the smorgasbord of stuff.
No, it's me. And you guys will see here momentarily.
Yeah, probably. The booze will do that to you. But that's why we love you. You're a lovable lush. We wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, I know.
He's so squishy.
I know what the...
All right, so we don't make that any more awkward than it has to be. We have a distinguished group of
I'll do this whole show topless.
No,
Yeah, let's see it, man. You can't lay it out on the table like that if you're not going to do it. See, finally, I get invited on a podcast that pays off. I've been doing this for years, hoping for one flash of man boob. So
there you go.
For $10 tip, he'll show you his feet.
Hell, I'll do it for free. We'll do it right now.
I'm more of a calves man myself, but
I got you. I got you covered. But we'll do that later. That's a private show.
Yeah, that's off podcast.
You can follow my O fans.
He's not joking. He really has one.
I really have one.
You really have an OnlyFans?
Yeah, I did.
So
I told the story every time I saw it on
OnlyFans. Now I both.
I post. Actually, here's my dumbass. Everyone else was posting like lewd, crude, and exclusive, stuff, and I was posting comic book work because I thought it was like Patreon, and it was supposed to be that.
It was supposed to be the first 10 minutes where that was what it was going to be. It was going to be.
So now I follow like 30 people that just show their jugs all the time. I'm not mad about it. That's $12.95. Well, yeah, it's for art purposes. Anatomy.
Absolutely. All right. So, James, before we go too far off the not safe for work path, can you introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers?
Yes, absolutely. My name's James A. Hunter. I'm a best-selling science fiction fantasy author. I have 25 or 30. I don't know. You lose track, but a lot of books published. Over 25 books published. I've been doing it full-time since 2015. I'm probably best known for Viridian Gate Online, Rogue Dungeon, Bibliomancer, the Yancey Lazarus series, which is urban fantasy, a bunch of other stuff. And I also run Shadow Alley Press, which is a digital-first science fiction fantasy publishing company with my wife, Jeanette. We have about 15 different authors and just shy of 150 titles. And I'm a Marine, former Marine, served from 2005 to 2009, mostly with the 13th MU, stationed out of Pendleton. So, yeah, it's a little bit about me.
All right.
Right up the road from me. I'm in Imperial Beach.
So does that 29 books and count the titles you publish as Chuck Tingle, or is that a separate count?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Do you know what kind of I would kill to have Chuck Tingle's clout? That man is a living legend to which we can all aspire, but it's not. I would never presume. I would never presume. Chuck, if you're watching, I'm sorry. Don't listen to these heathens. We all know.
And that's $45 I got to pay to Chuck Tingle right now.
It's Dr. Tingle to you, sir.
No. I don't recognize doctors because that's why I still have to wear a mask.
All right. So the next part of the introduction, dear listeners, how we first found them. So for me, it was really simple. Doc said, hey, you're going to do this thing or else. And so here we are. But
I did not.
No, you threw a few more expletives, but family friendly.
There were no or else's there.
There's always the
prettier.
I said we're doing it.
It's always implied the or else.
I mean, something about a silver bullet was mentioned.
No, I think it's sexy.
From there,
like JR has a problem with it.
when she wants something. So at Dragon Con, I have been putting off doing this fantasy dating game panel for like 3 years. Like it always sounded so horrifying to me. Like the idea of going up there, looking a complete jackass out of myself. I was like, I can't do it. And this year she was like, I need you to do this panel, and I was like, but do you though? Is there somebody else? And she's like, you. And I was like, damn it. And then there I was on that panel at 10 o'clock at night and like getting stupid drunk because I was like, that's the only way I'm gonna work through this thing.
You feel like you're an episode of Game of Thrones, like you're very touched, commands respect.
Didn't you have fun?
I had so much fun. I thought it was going to be super miserable, and I ended up having a blast. So you were right, and I'm glad that I did it.
Thank you.
There you go.
I am right.
Did your wife bid on you, or was she leaving you hanging?
No, well, she was cracking up in the audience. I probably did, and I'm not drunk enough to do it again, so don't ask, please. But I probably did the single worst British accent that anyone has ever done, and it was just belligerent fun. It was a good time. Good time.
We should probably hear this, right, JR?
Yeah, I would think so.
I can't. I'm literally not drunk enough.
Once I get that videos back from the video editor who's cleaning up the sound, I will share it in the podcast group.
It's something. It is
glorious
to watch.
So
it's really hard to do
on
a
the
Canadian
bright side,
accent.
you were great, and it is actually very normal that most of the panel is drunk. One of them, his wife got him so drunk he didn't realize he said "dick in a box" one year.
And now we said it too. Outstanding.
Now we said it too.
So, Nick, I know you showed up at the last minute. You know, we dragged you out of the bar, and your wife was like throwing coffee.
Bars. You know how expensive those things are in this economy? A bar? No, I went to Costco and drank it home on the cheap.
But Doc, how did you find these people? I'm assuming a bar is involved because it's you and you're not.
I found them when I hit the link. That's how I found them. There you go.
I am not an alcoholic.
I'm not disappointed
because I don't go to meetings, and nobody likes
you're
to
drunk.
Twitter.
You go to parties.
Exactly. So I met James at LibertyCon.
That's right.
Yes, at LibertyCon in like 19, I think. Yes,
I think that's right.
Yeah, and you were so much fun. And then I met DJ actually in a bar at DragonCon, the Weston bar.
Of course, you met someone in the bar because that's just how you roll.
You know what? It's not my fault.
Well, if you're going to meet anybody at a bar, the Weston bar is probably the bar to do it.
That's the one. I mean, if you're like a writer or sort of writer adjacent, and you're at DragonCon, the Weston bar is the place to crash. It's
the one time I was at DragonCon, it was me and a bunch of big name artists at the Weston bar, just tying one on and drawing, which none of our shit looked right.
The Mountaindale thing at White Oak, that was also a really good bar to go to.
That was really good. Dakota and Danielle, they know how to put things together. And I feel so bad because I feel like I was supposed to introduce DJ and I did a terrible job. DJ is my buddy, and he's one of the writers at Shadow Alley. And DJ, you should say things about yourself because DJ is an infuriating human being because he's better than literally everyone else on the planet, and he knows it and he tries to downplay it. So it's better if he tells you his intro because I'll be like, this is the smarmiest know-it-all man on the planet, DJ Podden. So. DJ, why don't you grace us with your presence, please, sir?
No, that pretty much recaps it pretty well. I'm better than James. I
know that's the worst part. That's the worst part.
They offered to let me carry a rifle, but I was like, I don't like loud noises, so they put me in a helicopter instead with a nice insulated cockpit.
All right there.
I didn't realize at the time. You know, I was actually sitting in an ambush, and a brown recluse kind of perched on my hand, and that's when I really decided to be a pilot. But what they didn't tell me was I'd have to go to 2 years of like aeronautics and thermodynamics and a whole bunch of other things. I mean, I remember getting like put in a penalty box once because I didn't know where these things that were on the tail rotor that didn't really matter, and I never had to learn about again. I also was a coffee trader for a couple of years. So I've spent some time in East Africa and Asia and Papua New Guinea and Australia.
He also grew up in Monaco. He grew up in Monaco.
I grew up in Monaco. Like I used to go to the Grand Prix for free. It was a little bit annoying because you couldn't cross the street. You had to go under it. What birds did I fly? I flew Cobras, AH-1 Whiskies with the TSU. I got it right at around the time where they got this bleepity bleep 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 secret, not allowed to talk about it, but it was a lot of fun. And I've got some pretty good stories about that. Like one of my favorites was we were flying over this village, and this like Afghan guy in like full getup, right? I mean, it looked like, you know, The Beast, the movie about the Soviets in Afghanistan getting completely overrun. He was like dressed up in the full getup, which wasn't actually that common at the time. Most of them had the little hats with the little widow's peak in it. But this guy was in full on, like, I'm going off to the mountains getup. And he like bursts out of this garage riding a bike and like doing the full James Bond routine. And we weren't looking for him at all. We were just flying overhead. So, natural chase instinct goes in, and we're using a $10 million aircraft to chase him down these tiny little like mud hut streets while he's doing full on a motocross. So anyway, long story short, also coffee trader. Before that, I was a Marine. Before that, I grew up in Monaco. Monaco's awesome, and thanks for having me.
And
so is it
like
true
3
that
languages fluently too, which is so disgusting. I mean, really, it makes me sick how good he is at things.
So is it true when you caught up with that guy on the bike that you offered to extend him his car's warranty?
No, but I did tell him that he could save a bunch of money using Geico car insurance.
No, that's
awesome.
Appropriate. That's very nice of you.
If they serve the country, they could get USAA.
Mm-hmm. So on a scale of 0 to
now for friends and family.
Yeah. How would you compare your helicopter skills to the Army helicopter pilots?
Well,
Careful.
I mean, it's a different mission, right? Now, not to get too serious about it, but the Army is airborne artillery, right? So they fly to a position, they hover, and they fire a bunch of rockets in a direction. The Marine Corps does close air support. So what we do is just very different from what they do. I couldn't speak to their skills as pilots, but I could tell you that the mission's different.
I'm just a little bitter. We called air support, and in the middle of a firefight, tracers going both directions. We can't identify the target. You're on your own. Like, I said a few choice words over the radio, but
and that's where the 11 Charlies come in, because they can't identify the target and they don't care.
We just blow up the good.
So I did both sides of the house.
It was a churro at a festival.
I did the pilot thing and I did the forward air controller thing. And I actually had troops in contact where I basically did it type 3 where the aircraft started shooting on their own recognition, which was interesting. But we operate close to the troops.
All right. And so since James already gave his bio with his bibliography, we're going to ask you here just so we can get it out of the way. What have you like written? What are you known for?
I've written a bunch of stuff. Now I started a science fiction universe called the Fivefold Universe, kind of trying to build a fandom from the ground up, starting from books instead of a board game or TV. So knock on wood, we'll see how that goes. I also write in James's Fivefold Universe, Viridian Gate Online universe. So I've got
as he's giving away his IP.
What's that?
You gave away your IP.
No, I'm
complicated
very
context.
jealous of my IP. I really like it. And then I also wrote some urban fiction back when I was young and stupid and didn't realize it was really hard to sell. But they're really nice books if you ever want like a vampire fic that's somewhere between Underworld and Harry Potter.
Did they sparkle?
No, they didn't. No. They didn't sparkle. And they killed a lot of people. It was very, therapeutic.
DJ again, because he's humble, which also is sickening. It's called the Black Year series, and that's actually how I found DJ. This is way back in the day. A buddy of mine, Eden Hudson, who's also one of my co-authors, turned me on to DJ's Black Year series, and that's how I sort of like stumbled upon DJ, and eventually it turned into this thing.
Is that how you two met?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I was bullshitting with Eden on Twitter, and James kind of like wandered in, and I read his books, and I liked his books. He read my books. He liked my books. He wrote a nice review. I remembered the review when he put out a call for submissions. He was actually happy to see me in the roster. I felt safe.
And now you guys live together in the Hamptons.
And then
I wish.
Whenever we walk together, we like to hold hands and
I mean, Marines and beaches. I mean, it just goes hand in hand.
Exactly. There's just pretty much.
I was at 0481. I was a landing support specialist. That was my actual MOS. So I mean that was supposed to be our job is beach setups and invasions. That's what we did. Is we took beaches.
Long walks.
That's not actually what I did because the Marine Corps doesn't need anybody to take beaches. So they just attached me as a convoy machine gunner to a motor T unit. But in theory, I took beaches. So
yeah.
Okay, so you guys met outside of the realm of the military.
Yeah, I had already been separated for several years. My wife and I were actually living in Thailand. We were international aid workers in Thailand in Bangkok, and that's when I first started writing. And it was not too long after that I met DJ, but DJ was in Geneva at that point, or yes, I think Geneva.
Yeah, I was in Geneva or New York.
All right, so I'm interviewing two people that make me feel like a horrible human being because you guys both are awesome and humanitarians.
No, it's all for show, man. I don't know what to tell
don't
you.
worry.
Don't let that get out.
No.
It's
Not all for show. You guys are actually good about it.
It's because
I just need to reevaluate my life function.
Well, I'm sure James can help you with that. I mean, he's just
I'm just going to keep drinking. John Jameson's.
Thank you, DJ. Thank you.
No, you guys sound awesome.
You want to write a book,
this interview is going to be so
James
much
said he'll
fun.
hook you up. If you ever want to write a book, James will hook you up.
Mm-hmm.
You got to publish a
I carve things into flesh and wood. So I don't know if writing a book is really my forte. Comic book, maybe.
Come on,
Are you a tattoo artist?
It with your smart ass mouth.
I just did.
Are you a tattoo artist, Nick?
I can draw anything you want.
He's a comic book artist.
You got some left. You got some room left on those arms, or are we going to the legs here? What are we doing?
I just got the one, but this one's empty canvas, man.
Yeah.
Oh God, I love an empty canvas.
You need to draw
Hunter.
like a Crayola.
I'm going to draw you like one of my French girls, bro.
Now
I
that
too
Nick is
am
in
a fan
love,
of the tattoo arts. I ran out of money.
So Doc, can we give Nick a gold star for not making jokes about Thailand? Because I'm really proud of him. He resisted temptation.
No, I do not talk about Thailand at all.
the reason he did it is
I was
because,
there for a month. I do not talk about it ever. I don't care how much you whiskey me up. I will never divulge it. I'm taking all that shit.
I have
grave.
like a $200 bottle of rum for you.
I don't know.
Bangkok, it depends where you go in Thailand. I mean, a lot of people end up in Phuket, but like Bangkok, man, that city will just eat you up, man. It is like on the surface, it's kind of glitzy and fun. You spend any more than about 2 weeks there, and you're like, oh my God, this place eats people. And it's definitely
Bangkok has them now.
Yeah.
So did you deploy as a machine gunner when you were attached to the convoys, or did you do it all in training?
Sorry, say that one more time.
You mentioned that you were doing convoy operations, which is what I did. So I was curious if you actually did that forward or if you just did it in the rear. Well, that's
wait, what?
Butterfly switches, James. Butterflies.
Are we not doing phrasing anymore? What's going on here?
No, yeah, I did that forward. So I deployed to Iraq in 2007. We were in the Al Anbar region, and so operating out of TQ. And our job was to build forward operating bases for our grunts who were searching for weapon caches. So we would do lots of runs. We were out forward of the wire pretty much all the time, supporting combat engineers and supporting ground units. So that's kind of what I did for just 9 months, is just run convoys through Al Anbar. So that was a big part of my first deployment. My second deployment, I did less of that. We were part of CTF 151, which was the Joint Pirate Hunting Task Force that was responsible for saving Captain Phillips. So that was a very minor historical note, as I was a very tangential role to that operation where the Somali pirates were killed and Captain Phillips was saved. And then he went to the next game, and we stayed on ship for another 4
months. I don't usually say this, but raw.
So you lived in the land of moon dust and Margaritaville, so that's always fun.
Yes, I did.
I spent a few missions resupplying the Marines there, so that was definitely interesting.
That moon dust, man, people don't know.
It gets everywhere.
I can still remember just how powdered, how it just gets in every crevice. Even
I think I have a couple of A bags that still has that shit in it.
I'm looking at a flight suit that I pulled out of a Foot Locker that I have over here, and it still smells like it. I mean, I must have washed that thing 100 times, and it still smells like Iraq and moon dust.
Yeah, in the black mold and all the transient tents, that was always fun. All right, Doc, we're going to go into like Brofest territory, and you're going to feel left out with all the testosterone. So
there's no going. You're already solidly there. It's okay.
You can turn this ship around, like just,
you say we're in deep.
Yes, we are in deep.
That's also a phrasing.
Built deep, baby.
So that's where we actually got hit. Where
JR loves Marines because they have worse. He thinks they have worse counting skills than he does at math.
It's also true, though.
It is true, though.
No, they teach Marines math in two things: MARSOC and aviation.
I was not part of the Air Wing, and I wasn't part of MARSOC, so I don't know any math.
And you already heard he has no idea how many books he has out. It's more than 24.
So that's okay. You can follow the Nick Garber Foundation for teaching Marines math at GarberTeachesTheMarinesMath.com.
I need flashcards, Nick. Very simple. My Little Pony illustrated.
James, I got you, man. I got you. I draw pictures, bro.
That's it. That's what I need.
So I actually got a coin from the Marine Air Wing Commander when we did a resupply for them when I was there at 05. So we did a lot of work for them. We also got in firefights with Marines. That whole
with Marines, not
against.
Not against.
Well, sometimes friendly fire is
there was that friendly fire incident, but luckily that 1-shot 1-kill is a rumor because I'm still here.
Rangers are more afraid of the 82nd Airborne showing up than any enemy we've ever faced.
I believe it. Those jerkwads. That's why I was 101st. All right, Doc, you can ask him the religion.
Yeah, you were
question.
almost airborne.
I was a leg infantryman in the 101st, but it still counts, damn it.
I will beat both of you, and until you don't like it anymore. So,
okay, hold on. I gotta use my toes for this to calculate.
So, religion question. We're talking sci-fi, Starship Troopers, Aliens, or Avatar. Which one would you pick?
For what?
Religion question.
The sci-fi
religion question.
Sci-fi religion question.
For religion, there is no religion in Aliens. Avatar is Gaia theory. So let's not get into that. So that just leaves you with Avatar or
Pew Pew.
Last Airbender, right? Or what was
Avatar,
the other?
Which Avatar? Are we talking about James Cameron Avatar or Avatar Last Airbender?
I'm pretty sure it's James Cameron.
Last Airbender.
It's James Cameron.
JR probably meant Avatar, the sci-fi one, because he thinks this is normally like we do 3 sci-fi titles.
And I went with ones that had Marines
and
in
Cisca
them.
likes anime, so it could be The Last Airbender. I don't know.
No, The Last Airbender is sci-fi, is fantasy, not
fantasy.
sci-fi.
And it's post-apoc. If you really look at it, it's post-apoc.
It is.
Fair.
Particularly if you get into the Legend of Korra.
I can solve this problem real quick by rephrasing the question.
Yeah, yes. Go for it.
Starship Troopers, Aliens, or Dune?
What the hell is wrong with you? Avatar had Marines.
Definitely Dune.
No, Dune is so theologically complicated. There are so many cults in Dune. Do you know how many cults there are in Dune, DJ?
I know, but the dresses are amazing.
Dune. I need something a little bit more simple, stupid. I am a
Star
Marine
Wars
by nature.
You want me to replace Dune with Star Wars, you simpleton?
Obviously. Hey, if I can have
Jedi
magical space wizards, I will take me some magical space wizards, sir.
So when they asked me this question when I was on, they put Harry Potter and Star Wars in the same question. And I said, I'd choose Harry Potter, but it's Star Wars with shittier lightsabers.
And in all defense, though, in Dune, the fat guy had the magic power. So, I mean, I might be in like Flint.
What? The Quisak?
He did not have any power. What the hell are you talking?
He had a floating suit. That's all he had.
That counts as power?
It does not. Not when you compare to the Pharaoh.
It's
the Monfats had more power than that guy.
That had the power.
They are.
Actually, the Spice Guild
you're going to
had
borrow
more
my
power than that guy.
HBO and you're going to rewatch Dune.
Like literally fold space.
And pay attention this time.
So in this question, I get the powers of the religion of the movie. Is that how it works?
No, you get to
pick. We're trying to ask you between the 3 movies that we presented, which is your favorite and which you most identify with? If I'm going to have to break it down even further.
Oh, Aliens.
Yeah, I mean, fuck. The automated turret and the director's cut. I mean, that is the coolest scene in sci-fi like ever.
So Nick, in my defense, no one has ever taken it to the actual theology in the movies until the Smarty Pants DJ came on board, and then like James just sort of went with that must be what they meant.
You were messing with aviation, like you were messing with aviation. You can't do that. You were like messing with squirrels, man. You're like, don't do that, Morty.
That's pretty good, actually. I like that.
I'm the impressionist of the show.
You're the comic relief, that is for sure. All right. So James,
I'm R2D2.
Okay, now that I know that I'm not picking a fictional religion in which I have to adhere to the tenets of the faith.
That should be the fate of Keen. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, now I might go with Dune. Now that I know that I don't have to be inducted into the cult and served as fodder for the sandworms, I might go with Dune. A lot of political intrigue, lots of really great world building. I mean, it's. I'm super stoked for the new reboot, man.
The trailer looks amazing.
James, I'm so glad you say that. We meet on Thursdays.
All right, so Doc, give me a second before you ask the next one. We actually were going to do a review of the Dune stuff for this as one of our fireside discussions.
I'm the only Dune aficionado in this group.
Now, James, you get to come
That's
back. All right,
one.
you get to nerd out with us.
Since fucking like 2000. When I first
No.
read it.
Uh-oh.
I believe
1999.
that Dune is so because I'm pretty good friends with Kevin J. Anderson, who writes all of the extended universe books of Dune, and there's so much material there that I feel like you would legitimately need to be a Dune scholar.
Like if
to know
Netflix
about all
did
the
a
factions and the
series,
matriarchy and
oh yeah, if Netflix could run a 10-year show on Dune or Hulu or any other streaming service, and my dumb ass would be there just eating it up for 10 years.
All right, so James,
the mythology is that in depth.
This is a really off the grid question, but given that they're a little bickering fit, do you put your money on the crazy medic or the crazy ranger sniper? It's a hard call.
Well, I'm gonna put it on Doc because I know her and I know she'll beat the crap out of me next time I see her if I bet against her. So
never would. I'd have Janet do
it.
All right, Doc, ask the fantasy question.
That's where my money goes.
Good old K-Cups.
Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay.
It's like Joe Rogan, but with less weed.
And classier, maybe. Okay, not
and
really,
classier,
but
maybe. But I did just take some ivermectin, and I feel great.
Okay.
Pirates close by. I hear things about that.
Yeah, I put the ivermectin, I scooped it in like an ice cream cone on a waffle cone, which made it fantabulous. And yeah, I'm good. I'm COVID free since the whole thing began. So
we're gonna miss the YouTube channel when they cancel us now. All right, Doc.
They'll just mute my part.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas.
Ooh.
Or 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which didn't have really Marines in it.
No,
it had Marines, but it's not really.
Pirates. No, it had pirates. The theme was pirates.
Pirates, Captain Nemo, man.
Pirates.
Well, I love Atlantis. I love the cartoon Atlantis. I thought it was great when they did the animated.
Oh yeah,
that one was pretty good.
Like the Disney
so we'll do Atlantis, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas.
But if you do Atlantis, you have to compare it to Treasure Planet, don't you?
The Treasure Planet is
amazing. Oh my god!
No,
that.
I don't, because that's sci-fi.
That's true.
This is fantasy.
Space fantasy, but
are we really saying 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea is not
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea?
20,000 Leagues. It's kind of classic.
That's sci-fi, dude.
No,
it's sci-fi. Yeah. JR was the one who said it was fantasy, not me.
Smack all right, him. You're closer to him.
Defend your case. Oh. How is it sci-fi?
It involves science. There is no magic.
Yeah, I mean the core principle.
It may be wrong science, but it's still science.
Okay, so we're at the point of the show where I'm going to hurt your feelings. I'm going to be all right. You can be upset. I'm be all right.
I have no feelings.
Really? It's like,
no, mine were surgically removed from the NCO Academy.
Wow.
So go ahead, hurt my feelings. We're waiting.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, I mean, if we're comparing military dicks here, I guess I'll just do that. PLDC, BNOC, ANOC.
We're not playing that game. We've moved on from that.
Then I went to OCS. Then I went to IODC. And then I went to the Maneuver Captain's Career Course.
Good for you, but we're talking about 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Put your romance
you're actually asking why it's
We're not going to do the military mating flight.
No,
put it away.
That's later.
Why do you think it's fantasy? Why do you think it's fantasy? Let me ask you that question.
Fantasy can have science in it. I mean, they had siege engine in medieval times, and a lot of fantasy is set there. It's just
nobody said that fantasy can't have science.
Okay,
no,
so it's
nobody's making that argument. It's a straw man argument.
Under the sea, and there's
which is an illogical fallacy. I just thought I'd break that down to you.
It's got fantastical creatures in it that weren't aliens. All right.
Often, when fantasy has science in it, it's steampunk, right?
And it's Google said it was fantasy.
It falls more on the sci-fi than the fantasy. Google, now you got to look at it as like a gradient curve. It's not a hard line. Where
I'm just saying Google disagrees with you.
You guys see what I deal with?
I'm pretty impressed, honestly. You seem very even-keeled for everything you go through.
You go at it.
For my dear listeners, you know that I'm very passionate about things, and they are across the line.
All right, Doc. Save us from ourselves. Let's move this ship forward.
Okay.
See what I did there? Ship, nautical, marine. See?
So we have Atlantis, Pirates of the Caribbean, and what was the last one?
Sinbad and Legend of the Seven Seas.
Seven Seas, yeah.
No, I'm gonna go Pirates. all the way. I mean, it's got some low points later on in the franchise, I will admit. But man, some of those early movies, they do some really fun stuff, and I like myself a crazy wonky adventure where the good guys win, and man, Pirates of the Caribbean has a lot of crazy wonky adventures.
And some good sword fights. Has some amazing
Good
sword fights throughout the entire series.
And also zombies. I like zombies and curses.
Who doesn't love underwater zombies?
You don't love underwater zombies?
No, I do. My question is,
any kind of zombie really is fine by me. Underwater zombies are the least explored category of zombie, in my opinion.
Does that make it horror? I'm just checking.
Oh, no, it's definitely got some horror elements.
Actually, it would. Probably horror adventure comedy would be the sub genre.
But yeah, I'd go with Pirates of the Caribbean too. My heart wants to say 20,000 Leagues, but Pirates of the Caribbean is so much more
an
celebrated.
Option, DJ. We struck that one from the board. When you're supposed to be better than everybody else.
He is, and we just haven't figured it out yet. He probably just elevated this whole conversation to a different class level or
submerged it, Ranger Nick.
All right, Doc. Let's save this. You're supposed to wrangle this goat rope.
What is it that you love about the speculative fiction genre? We're going to start with DJ because he's been quieter and better behaved.
It's been tactical.
All of you.
I love speculative fiction because I'm crazy as a loon, or a nicer way of saying that is neuroatypical. And speculative fiction allows you to remove an assumption, right? So it's for me, it's about removing. It's not about adding. It's about removing. So you have a reason why human beings can't act like rational creatures because burglars. And speculative fiction allows you to say there are no more burglars because I invented a MacGuffin, and because of the MacGuffin, there are no burglars, and therefore you have to be rational. And I like that.
Okay, how about you, James?
That was so complicated. I like silly stories where people get to go pew pew, and then there's like swords, and you're like ting ting, and then there's like rockets. That's what I like about speculative fiction. Is
most marine answer ever.
Is I can do whatever I want. I can tell whatever kind of story I want. The things that I avoid writing, like horse. I don't know anything about horses. And so I never put horses in any of my books, or I try to avoid putting horses in my books. Instead, I'll be like, hey, he's riding a dragon now. Because you know what? Dragons are fake. You can't tell me the anatomy of a dragon or how fast a dragon can gallop. So I can just make stuff up, and then people pay me money for it. It is literally the best job I've ever had. I can't believe it's a real thing that exists and that people pay me to do. It's incredible. So many rockets, so many lasers, so many dragons. Amazing. Amazing.
I know this might get us banned from YouTube, Doc, but I just can't resist. As he was talking about Marine things, my former Marine buddy, because you can't call them ex-Marines, they get real pissy, just sent me this.
Yeah, they get real pissy.
So I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
That's any military member on liberty in Thailand. It's not like true. Marines don't corner the market on that shit.
I know. I figured the timing was so appropriate that I could not share it.
And anyway, that's awesome. You don't talk about.
All right, Doc.
What is your first memory engaging with speculative fiction? So we're going to go with DJ.
When I was 9 years old, I dragged Stephen King's It into my platform bed and decided I was going to read it. I understood maybe about like 2/3 of it. Like there's a really uncomfortable scene involving one girl and several young boys, and I didn't quite get it at the time, but now I think it's wildly inappropriate. Honestly, I thought that book was really good for me as a kid, which is probably a sign that, we should just all slowly back away. But again, it's about removing something, right? It's that whole book to me as a kid was anything that scares you, you can overcome if you can just make yourself believe that you can. So hugely transformative for me.
So is it with 9-year-olds and Stephen King novels?
I got in trouble for reading Stephen King at that age. I get it.
All of Stephen King, like not all of them, but like a vast majority of Stephen King books have child protagonists. like
Hey, listen, man, we all float down here.
Adults don't acknowledge.
We
like
all
that's
float.
a big part of this thing.
Yeah,
I remember,
now,
like,
I am like seriously, I'm going to start inspecting my son's books more closely at this rate.
you probably
That's
should.
fun.
You know, the
Is it
best
not-
thing to
about-
do is just tell
about 9
him
or 10?
exactly which books he shouldn't read, and make sure they're like really inaccessible, and that'll definitely make sure he never ever goes near them.
Or
You
at least
should
when he does.
definitely
does.
have
Only with
the
paragraphs,
blacklist
so.
of books your child cannot read, because I possibly could not see that coming.
Yeah, no,
All
I would
right.
totally do that. I am manipulative. So
Since this is probably going to be my last show, you can send all the hate mail to nickarberdesigns@gmail.com.
All right. Did you let James answer? I was too busy giggling.
no, James's answer. I was going to ask James what his answer to this is.
So funnily enough, I actually like a lot of authors are like, oh, I loved reading from a young age. I knew from the second grade when I was 8 years old that I wanted to be an author. That was not the case for me. I was not a voracious reader as a child or even through middle school. It wasn't until high school. Actually, Stephen King, The Dark Tower, the Gunslinger, first book in that series, was sort of my first entry into speculative fiction. And then my 10th grade English teacher, I really enjoyed that. I kind of went down the horror train first, but my first big fantasy book, which left this like a deep impact in my life, was Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, the Eye of the World, the first book. My 10th grade English teacher recommended it to me and got me a copy of it. And man, I tore through that thing, and that sent me on a rabbit hole of like, I just didn't realize that sort of these big sweeping epic fantasies that could take you and transport you into these other worlds that are so diverse and so realistic and have so much nuance to them. And for me, that was just, I mean, it just absolutely sort of changed my worldview. And it made me interested, not just in books, but also in writing for the first time. The idea of like, people can tell stories like this. I want to be able to tell stories like this. So that was a big sort of watershed moment for me.
So what is it you love about, you've talked about sort of your first memories of it, but you haven't necessarily pinpointed, other than joking about lasers and pew pew, what is it you love about speculative fiction? So we're going to give you a chance to be serious, James.
Okay.
And DJ will make us all look dumber for his answer.
It's true.
We'll
No, so I think the serious idea and why I enjoy speculative fiction so much is because in speculative fiction you have an opportunity, and this is part of the reason why I like horror as well. You have an opportunity to present deep psychological problems in a real manifest way that characters then have an opportunity to overcome, and we don't get that in our real life. Oftentimes the villains or the monsters or the things that my characters are going against represent real tangible things in our lives. But you can't punch depression in the face. You can't put anxiety in a headlock. But in a book, you can manifest those things as characters or as larger forces that the character has to work through. And as the character works through those things and overcomes those things, I think it gives readers a catharsis. And it also helps them to understand that, wow, this person's not real and this thing isn't real, but they were able to face the challenge and overcome the obstacle. And I think that brings that you bring that back into your life, and it gives you the courage to overcome those same obstacles in your life. So I really enjoyed that part of speculative fiction, of being able to really examine sort of abstract ideas in very concrete ways where you can kind of explore the nuances of them. So I really like that.
All right. And can you top that, DJ, and make him feel like tiny for his answer?
I just really love the fact that you can walk into a conversation with someone who's just like a little bit shallow, and they can say, hey, what kind of movies or books do you read? And it said, I read sci-fi. And it just immediately switches them off. Like they cannot think of a place they would rather be than anywhere near you. And I think that's almost a superpower, right? You're at a cocktail party or you're in a bar and someone walks up to you and starts a conversation that you don't want to be in. And you can just be like, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about, but would you like to talk about The Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu? And then it's just done. You can just shay away out of that conversation. You're done.
And if they do want to talk about the 3-body problem, it's a win-win, right? I mean, it's the best litmus test for, do I want to associate with you and spend valuable time talking to you?
I mean, it's an open carry smoke bomb. That's all it is.
I can dig that. All right. So how did your love of speculative fiction, the genre, and the open carry smoke bomb that it is for you, transition into you writing stories in this space, DJ?
Well, like James, it's a story mired in moon dust and the end of conflict. I had a good friend who, like, they were saying it to me in one of those ways where someone's being like a little bit ignorant and really rude, but they don't realize it. I told them I write books, and their immediate response is, "Yeah, my dad says that writing stems from boredom. So basically, I live a really boring life." But I was at the end of the deployment, and I was actually bored. So you kind of hate it when those people are right too. But we had 2 weeks to kind of turn over to the oncoming unit. It only took 1 week to turn over what we had. We'd done a pretty good job, and things were peaceful. And the guy was just sick of me. So he said, "Listen, I got it. Go sit in your tent." And I had a laptop. So I cranked out a book. It was like Aaron Michael Ritchie levels of fast. Like, I wrote an entire book in a week. And it was so awful. Like, I was super excited about this because I wrote good in English class when I was a kid. So I thought this book thing is going to be a cinch. And I paid for one of those, like, 2 cent per word editors who, on his website said I was the first editor that ever, signed on Stephen King. I was super excited. He's going to come back and tell me how awesome my story was. And it came back with more red on the page than black. And I'm a little bit of a glutton for, it was a sci-fi story. And now I know all the things that are wrong with it. It still lives in a box. But I was a little bit of a glutton for punishment, and I actually read all his notes, and then I put it in a box and I put it away. But that was it for me. That was what started me writing, was that understanding. Because I think if it had been a decent book that I'd gotten, and it would have been successful, but not that successful, I would have gotten bored with it. But because it was just like such a gauntlet laid on the table of, this is all the shit you don't know, that launched me on a 10 years of get good and try to understand this thing.
Yeah, I jokingly wrote a blog post after I got my first edit for my first book. I titled it "Tears of Blood, or How I Learned to Take It Like a Man," because my first novel was pretty much all red as well. I totally relate to that. All right, James, you get to see if you can top that. Do you think you can? Are you ready? Do you need a deep breath? Take a shot of something? I don't know.
I should have come prepared with more shots. No, I just had coffee. So
always keep the bottle in the office.
Yeah, you can always fall back on the British accent, man.
Oh God,
yeah,
no.
we're waiting. We're waiting. God,
I had started sort of writing short stories when I was in the Marine Corps. Just as a way to sort of entertain myself. I wrote my first full novel while I was in Iraq. I was actually coming back from Iraq. I was in a CB camp in just outside of Ali Asalim. And I wrote my first full novel, which was bad. It was really bad, like most first full novels are. And then I started writing a second novel after that. And then it kind of fell off. I got out, I kind of continued to write on and off in the Marine Corps. And then it just kind of went away. I get bored very easily. And so I was like, okay, that's kind of out of my system. It's done. I don't need to do this anymore. And I didn't write very much from, 2010 to when I wrote my next novel. I started writing again when I went to Thailand. So my wife and I were living in Thailand. We were in this little concrete shack in Hoi Quang, Bangkok, which is this Thai-Chinese neighborhood that's an absolute dumpster fire. Lots of cockroaches. We were super duper poor. We had a 3-month-old baby with us. Lots of poor life choices led us to this place. We have no furniture. We don't have any TV. Thailand is a partially restricted country, so we couldn't stream things, and I was going crazy. I was learning to speak Thai, which I was not good at. I didn't have any friends over there, and I was like, man, I need to do something or I'm going to go crazy. And so I started writing again, and I ended up writing my first published novel, which was a book called Strange Magic, which is urban fantasy. And I remember finishing it and thinking, well, this doesn't suck. It's not like all the other ones that I would be ashamed to let another person read. I think this one's okay. And that's kind of how I got my start. I talked to my wife. I shared the book with her. I said, hey, this isn't terrible. I didn't want to be an author. This whole thing that I'm doing is a comedy of errors, really heaped on top of one another. But I showed her this book and I said, hey, I think that this is pretty good. I had looked into traditional publishing. I didn't want to be an author. I decided that was not for me. I had stumbled onto Let's Get Digital by David Gaughran, and I kind of talked about indie publishing. I thought this is more my speed. I something fun, a way to get my books out there to maybe a couple of people read it. So I put together this little marketing plan. I told my wife, hey, I need $1,500 to get this book edited, to get cover art, to build my marketing plan. And again, we were super poor. We had to take out a loan to get a water filter system so that we had drinkable water. We didn't have any furniture. We just sat on the floor on a rice mat for 4 months, our first 4 months in Thailand. So this $1,500 investment was a big deal, but she was 100% supportive. And I ended up launching my book January 2015. I was hoping to make my money back, my $1,500 back in a year. I said, if I can make this back in a year, I will be wildly thrilled beyond all expectation. And I think we made it back in the first 4 days or something. And it just set us on a road that we absolutely never expected. So yeah, weird. Life is weird that way sometimes.
All right.
Did you get it, Doc or Nick?
Doc, Nick.
You.
Fuck,
Yeah.
what kind of kid are you?
Sunglasses.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm supposed to ask the crayon eater question. I got it.
Yeah, you asked the crayon eater questions.
Yeah, you forget about who you're dealing with here. Jesus, come on, man.
It's just been so long. I didn't want you to feel like,
Well, we know you're rusty.
Oh, you know what? You're not wrong.
No.
I'm not going to debate that.
He's
I'm
awesome.
a little rusty.
Are you kidding me?
And James is now in my will for backing me up there. So
one nice compliment, ladies and gentlemen.
As much as I love, this is the question I ask all my crayon-eating little brothers that were born in a bar. What bar was it?
Tun Tavern.
Tun Tavern. Very good. You get 10 points to Gryffindor.
1775. Sorry.
1775. Army's born in 1770. But we ask all others. Okay, so you guys are veterans. Got a lot of experience in that particular experience that most people don't have. So how do you feel that your time in the beloved United States Marine Corps, whose birthday is coming up next month, I'm just going to give a little shout out to that. How do you think that experience has kind of affected November 10th? It's marked on the calendar. I got a lot of Marine brothers and I love them. How do those experiences affect the stories that you tell?
James, you want to go first?
No, you should go first, DJ. I just talked a whole bunch.
All right. I have a little bit of different experience going back to Europe. To a certain extent, in Europe, being in the military is seen as a last resort still. They still have a legacy of conscription here. It's a short service. It's not a career. If it is a career, it's either because you're predisposed to it or you have no other choices, or at least that's the perception of the civilians. So like when you're in Europe and you tell someone you're a veteran, sometimes you still get the baby killer look. And sometimes you get kind of the awkward look, and you very rarely get the thank you for your service, which is just kind of like automatic in the US. It's almost like, you toss up the clay pigeon, the guy draws his gun, boom, thank you for your service. So when the way that's influenced my take on military services is I try to make sure that when I write military characters or mercenaries, I write about the hard stuff. So I remember during my 2011 deployment, Taliban got really sneaky. They actually they used real estate to sneak up on our base. They sold housing to the locals right next door to our base. And the first thing a good Afghan man will do when he gets a plot of land is he'll build a wall around it about waist high. Mm-hmm. And then they use the waist high walls to be able to low crawl all the way up, within 100 meters of the front gate of our base. Now they didn't want to hurt the locals, and they knew us Marines were cultural insensates. So they buried this massive IED in a graveyard that was, again, 100 meters in front of our base. And funny thing is, we were actually paying attention, so we didn't walk in the graveyard, and it was a tractor full of kids that rolled over it and got blown 20 feet in the air. So I'm dealing with the mass casualty. I brought in 3 Black Hawks into a 2 helicopter LZ. We got everyone out. We basically strong-armed these kids' uncle to ride with them because we had to have a local ride with the kids. 1 DOA, 1 died in the chopper. We managed to save 6 out of the 8, all from one family. And the thing I try to tell people is it's not about that, because that's shock, right? It's like Aristotle said, which James loves it when I mention that. Killing a good man is just shock value. What I always try to tell people is how those 18, 19, 20-year-old Marines, some of them married their high school sweethearts, had,
or
2 4-year-old kids, and they're looking at these Afghan children who have just been shattered, like literally every bone in their body broken, and are just hanging on, and they're seeing their kids. And I remember walking up to the corpsman, his HM1. I actually can't. I won't name him, but I looked at him, and there was still blood in front of the infirmary, and I said, HM1, you got to clean that up. And he was just exhausted, right? He just saved 6 kids' lives, and he just looked at me and he said, "Sir, really?" And I said, "We can't let the patrols come back in and see that, because it'll wreck them." And so he cleaned it up. And I think it's our job as veterans, when we're writing this stuff, let the guys who never served write all the nice stuff of being able to fire infinite bullets at an enemy that never backs down. But at some point, it's our job to actually say, hey, this costs something, and we don't expect anyone else to do it. But be respectful and understand what they went through, and every once in a while listen to an uncomfortable story, because that's part of someone. And the worst thing that can happen to a veteran is to get isolated.
There are
You're absolutely right, man.
Some universes I don't read for that very reason. It's all stand up, shoot 'em up, no consequences, rah rah, we'll do it again tomorrow. And that just isn't reality. And if you can do all that and it has absolutely zero effect on you, we have a word for you. We call it sociopath.
Which isn't in the DSM anymore.
Is it not?
Nope.
There's another genre that handles that aspect
It's
pretty well.
probably classified under type A personality or type B.
Well, if you want to know what you are, read On Killing.
Oh yeah, On Killing is a great book.
I will try not to go full history nerd and talk about everything that was wrong with his procedural recording of events and how many veterans got really pissed at him for implying they weren't shooting to kill. But we're not here to talk about that. So, James, how do you think your time in the military affected the stories you tell?
For being, like, in hindsight, such a relatively short period of my life, right? I mean, I only did 4. And in the grand scheme of my life, it doesn't seem like that much, but man, it was a hell of a 4 years. And there's a lot of experiences there that stick with you. And for that reason, I incorporate a lot of those elements into my books. A lot of my characters are veterans or veteran related. They all deal with conflict. I'm an action adventure writer. And so obviously combat and violence is a big part of every single book that I write. But similarly to DJ, and I think that this is part of the reason why we get on so well, is I don't generally like the action hero movie portrayal, where a guy goes in and he just slaughters a million people, and he walks out and he dusts his hands off and he walks away, because that's not how it works. I like the idea that killing has consequence. So after I got out of the Marine Corps, this is a weird thing, but so I went and I served as an aid worker in Thailand with my wife, because I was struggling a lot with sort of all of the things that I had experienced while I was in the Marine Corps, and just feeling like, man, I want to contribute something good and wholesome into the world. So I'm going to go, work with, people that are being trafficked and do something where there's no moral ambiguity to it. It just feels like this is the right thing to do, and there's not any of that deeper nuance to it. But I like to write all of those deeper nuances into my books, and I like to think that even one life matters. That they're not just killing endless, faceless goons that don't matter. That human life is valuable, and that when you take a human life from somebody else, even if it's justifiable, that there are deep consequences that sit with you. So I think that those are all themes that I address a lot. One of my novellas, which is one of my favorite pieces of writing, is a little novella. It's only about 25,000 words, called Siren Song. And it's urban fantasy, but it takes place back in 1969. The main character is Lazarus, who's the main character in my urban fantasy series, but he's just this young kid. It's his last month in Vietnam. He's getting ready to go home when really bad stuff happens to his platoon. And it was really my way of sort of working out on the page, kind of some experiences and just like not venting, but just kind of trying to analyze it like away from myself a little bit. And it was a super cathartic book to write. And it's one that lots of veteran readers read, and they'll email me or they'll comment and they'll say, man, this book felt so true to a lot of my experiences, even though I never served in Vietnam, because even though the scenery changes, a lot of those other things stay the same. So those are all things that I like to incorporate into my stories, that the violence matters and that the consequences of it are very real.
Very good. That's the way it should be.
And do you remember to put Jody in there just to keep it a little bit of extra suck factor?
Oh, come on, man. It's fantasy and sci-fi. We don't need to have
Did
space
you really have
Jody
to go there?
We got to go with Space Jody.
He wouldn't be drunk if I didn't go there.
That should be a new trope.
As someone who fell victim to Space Jody, well, actually it was Earth Jody, but no, we're not talking about Jody. Jody doesn't need to exist.
What's the male version of a Jody? Since you brought it up,
I don't know, Johnny.
A male version of a Jody?
A male Jody is Jody.
No, a male Jody is a Jody. So female, what's a female Jody?
Oh, that's a Rebecca.
It's a Rebecca. I didn't realize.
Wow, that was quick.
That's a Rebecca.
That's
something that goes
Becky there.
And she's the potential parent of
there.
Layden, Caden, Jaden, Raiden, and Hope.
But he's not bitter. All right. So, Nick, you ready to ask the next one so we can save you from your memories?
Oh, God, that's going to be a PTSD-ridden episode.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to bring the bummer.
No, it's good. This is actually what I talk about in groups. So, and they're like, "Well, at least you have that type of outlet." I'm like, "Do I?"
Well, somebody.
No one else is laughing. So I'm going to move on with the question.
Him up a little.
No, and I ran out of booze too. Well, I didn't run out. It's just there's none in my glass.
It's broken.
No, I'm broken. We'll cover that in another episode. Anyway.
Nick's therapy hour will be another night.
This is my therapy hour.
Gosh darn it, Nick, you're a great guy and I like you. I just want you to know that. You got something going on. You're a good guy, man.
James is a kindred in Deadpool.
So. Just because Nick is going there, I'm going to share this veteran suicide number.
Really? The veteran suicide hotline?
It's good. I appreciate it, but also very dark.
It's informative and yet funny. No, I got to give it to you. I didn't think you had the fucking sack for that. That's awesome. All right. So being in the military, as a writer and creator myself, I know I draw a lot of, I create a lot of characters from people that I knew in the mill. Do you guys do the same? Do you find yourselves putting people you knew while you were in the service into the stories that you tell?
Oh, 100%.
Any one of you can answer?
100,000%. So many of my characters, especially anytime, like almost on principle, anytime that I'm writing a scene that involves active duty military in some way, they're almost always real people that I served with, whether from one deployment or another one, from some company that I knew, someone who reminds me, they're all real people, every one of them.
Well, do you find it easier to create that character when you have somebody else in mind?
Yeah, I think having a blueprint for who this person is beforehand, and being able to model that blueprint off of a real person, because it's easier to think about and kind of run through. Well, how would this interaction go with this guy who's kind of an asshole from New York, but also sort of secretly lovable? I'm talking about a real person. I doubt I'll ever watch this. How would that interaction go? It makes it way easier.
Yeah, instead of creating a brand new person out of the ether, it's so much easier to draw those experiences from people you actually knew, because you're like, I have this character, I want him to have these characteristics. Oh God, it's Smitty,
Yep.
I really don't.
Really?
I Frankenstein monster the hell out of all of it. I'll draw plot.
Well, DJ is the smartest person in the room. He could do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm trying to think of a single character. I mean, stories, yes, absolutely. But I feel like almost, and I don't know if I do this consciously, like the people that I watched in the military, they had their public persona and they had like the stuff they were actually going through. And that's a little like sacred to me. And I don't touch that. Like I don't expose their personal shit. I don't talk about, you know, the guy who punched his CO after the CO tried to crawl into a sack with him. I don't talk about like the divorces, the drinking, the people who lost shit. Like,
Okay,
I
so
stay the
my
hell
life
away from
story,
there.
awesome.
And even like the good shit, like I don't know why I've just never used it. I build the characters, I put them in the situation, the plot might be there, or
What
I
about
like I
humor
might
and
retell a
jokes?
story.
You
See,
ever
I,
put
I
any of the like humor and jokes that
Yeah,
like you
no,
have like
absolutely. I make sure that every, you know, that was one of my favorite parts of writing the vampire books was the hunters just sitting around and bullshitting and talking about what happened in Somalia, you know,
yeah
and going from basement to basement with vampires instead of you know,
Hajis
Black Hawk Down.
or skinnies?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say that, but
That's what
the
I'm here for. That's why I received the hate mail.
He's culturally insensitive, rude,
But
crude, and easy to
actually,
abuse.
Skinny was my
No,
nickname at
I'm
the
a
Naval
knuckle
Academy.
dragging mouth breather, man. Like I have a sloped cranium and everything. I was like built for war, and I miss it. But
see,
No,
I am so
I get you, man. You know,
opposite.
sometimes you feel like you're about 100 years too late, maybe 200, 300, 400, 500, 1,000 too late
I
in
would have
time.
done well in the Crusades. I think as far as like
I
mental
would have
composure.
died almost instantly. I am a finicky bitch. Okay, I need a hot shower. I do not want to live without indoor plumbing. Just yeet me off a cliff if you have to send me back to the Crusades.
Yeah.
I need good food, and I am a man who likes creature comforts. I was gonna say though, I'm so opposite.
You should join the army then, bro.
I
No, the
picked
Air
the
Force.
worst possible
You're
branch.
both dumbasses.
Worst
You should have been in the Air
possible
Force.
branch. Yeah, I
What,
remember.
that famous line from the Green Berets. I'm like, I'm not a Marine sergeant. I enjoy my comfort.
Yeah, I remember going. So I got out of Iraq. They put us in a condemned Iraqi squad bay. I remember the army was in Cairns, and we were in this condemned Iraqi squad bay, which was just disgusting, and that was still significantly better than the FOBs that we were building. But I remember getting back to Kuwait and going to Ali Aslim, which was the Air Force base there, and those sons of bitches had a Pizza Hut and a Subway next to a swimming pool, and they're
Yeah, but the
playing
cheese was shit,
volleyball.
man.
But what about the green bean? Did you try the green bean?
What's the? I don't
The
know.
coffee
I
shop.
wasn't there long
Coffee
enough
shop.
to.
The coffee shop.
Oh yeah, they had so many good in their chow hall. Like I think it was called the Rock, and oh my god, it was the nicest chow hall I ever been to in my whole life. I was like, I made a lot.
What do they always say? Combat experiences may
bad
vary.
life choices.
So I find that odd, DJ. I get where you're coming from, where you don't share their stories because they're not your stories to share. And I do get to a point where I don't like list names. Some of it is just more general. But I also feel like to a point, sharing those stories where you can do it and protect their identity, and that I get.
Yeah,
it immortalizes them. Like
it immortalizes them.
My friends that died, like they don't really die as long as we remember, right? Like, and I tell that to their kids.
It's that old adage: as long as you have someone telling your tale and speaking your name, you never die.
Yeah, so I get
I'm
where you're
obviously
coming from, but
paraphrasing.
Yeah, I tell you, it's not even conscious. I've just realized I've never done it, and I've never done it for anything, right? I mean, I've known doctors. I don't use them just cut and paste into stories. I'm really more of a Frankenstein. I love putting little bits and bobs together until it's all about like it's graphs for me, right? It's can I escalate the conflict? Can I put two people together that really are going to hate each other from the get go and you know somehow have to work together? Like I actually map out. I have a little Excel chart that maps out all my speaking characters and then what they care about and what they hate, and usually religion, death, sex, war, politics, all that stuff. And I make sure in each scene, two people have something to violently disagree over. So it's not necessarily to protect them. It's more that's just how I design characters.
That's fair. All right. Speaking of characters and designing things, we had a few more prepped questions, but we went full vet bro here, and we talked over each other and told crude.
It's a vet bro show. What are we like? You can't bring it up as a pejorative. That's a big.
I didn't say that it was.
No,
I'm
no,
just
no,
saying
no, no, no.
we're an hour in, and we came here to pimp their stuff. So
no,
we
are, and
it's like 4 in the morning for DJ, and he might actually have
nice bright-eyed and bushy tail. He was a coffee broker. I need the brand that he's drinking right now.
So,
but we're here to talk about Gentleman's War and the Kickstarter. So either one of you can pop in and tell us about this Kickstarter. This is a screen grab of the website, and it'll be linked in the show notes. And I will throw it at the bottom of the screen because I'm cool like that, and I know how to do things.
Yeah, so just a little bit about a Gentleman's War. So I read a pretty popular sort of gamelet series called Viridian Gate Online. And Gentleman's War is a custom card deck built off of the characters and sort of the factions and the meta arc of Viridian Gate Online. But then it's also paired with this really fun game that DJ played with a bunch of leathernecks over in Afghanistan, which is kind of a amped up version of the card game War, which we all know and play as kids, with a couple of additional rules. And also you're supposed to cheat as much as humanly possible without getting caught. That's kind of the premise is the more you can steal, the more you can lie, the more you can take advantage of other people without getting caught, the better off you are. But if someone catches you on your bullshit, they call you out. You have to be a gentleman about it. You have to give them your cards, and you have to not let them punch you in the face. There's a lot of the time when I play this with people, I end up wanting to punch them in the face. But it's really fun. It's it's not super complicated. It's meant to be a sort of a pick up and play game. It's really fun. But also the deck is super beautifully illustrated. Every card is custom illustrated with awesome character art. Like a lot of the custom, just like playing card decks that you get, usually what you'll get is like the face cards. So like the ace through jacks sort of have some custom illustration, but every single card in the deck is custom illustrated. You have your regular suits, but it's also built around themes. So you sort of have monsters, the Inquisitors, which are sort of these Romanesque Imperials. You have the thieves, and then you have these sort of dark elves who are these sort of rebel freedom fighters. And it's just stunning. There's lots of cool flavor text, lots of cool backstory, and it's just been a really, really awesome project. DJ's done so much of the work on it that I feel like I'm just mooching off.
So,
I mean, I created this series and I'm funding all this stuff, but he's done a crazy amount of work on it, and it's really turned out awesome.
So can I've seen some of the cards in person at Dragon Con. They were amazing.
Yeah.
But because you mentioned
nice name
that.
drop.
Yeah, no. Well, I've also backed the cards.
So, we have some, these really beautiful
all of
cards.
the cards, like where did you get your inspiration from the cards? I'm this is a leading question because I know the answer.
You do it, DJ. You get it, since I just talked a whole bunch. I'll flash cards while you talk.
Where do we get the inspiration? First, we found an amazing artist whose name we will absolutely never disclose to anyone ever, because we're basically like going back to Stephen King. It's like artist's name and us. It's Misery from Stephen King. We've got a chain to a basement. And we just want him to pump out cool art for all our universes.
That's true. It's a true story.
He's amazing. But when I got out of the Marines, we had this game, and I wrote it up as a video game first, and it's like a full pitch for someone like Ubisoft, and it just never pulled through. Plus, they wanted $5,000 to build a prototype. And then when I was writing for James in VGO, it just kind of naturally came about that we had some Roman legionaries essentially sitting in a bar and playing a card game, and I pulled out the rules for Gentleman's War, and it's really about the idea that there's this concept that war is high card wins. And I wanted to flip that on its head, where you have assassinations, you have ways to block assassinations, battles escalate out of control, you can cheat, you can steal someone's discard pile, you can, one of the things they talk about in game theory is let the player do the
voice
fun
right
thing.
there.
And the fun thing for me was always bluffing and wanting to shuffle, cards back in the deck or hide an ace up your sleeve. And the game is designed to let you do that as part of the game mechanic. So that's what we thought would be fun, and that's the game we designed. This is
Dakota Kraut's card, and a bunch of our author friends are created in card form here in the deck. So DJ's got a card. Let me see if I can find DJ's card here.
So
real quick.
if you were listening or watching this on YouTube, you will have heard me scream because they had the Jay Boyce card up, and I love.
She looked familiar.
Yeah,
I love the artwork for it, and I love the series, and also Jay's awesome.
These are my children. These are my children, Lucy and Sam, my little cutthroat lookouts.
I love it.
That was actually a fun part of the project, was looking at each of these authors' brands and trying to find something that was their physical representation, but also really kind of represented their universe and their brand.
So, like, if you look at this, Jay is really known for, like, her colorful wigs. This is art from her Siphon series. So we try to incorporate all of those little touches. We have Michael Chatfield in here.
She buys dice like most people buy books.
This is why we love her. She is awesome.
This is my beautiful wife, Jeanette. This is her, the pharmacist. She's a chemist by trade. Before we went overseas, she worked for a pharmaceutical company, and then she left all that sweet pharma money behind to go be a super poor aid worker because we're suckers and make bad life choices. This is a buddy of mine, Chris Carney. He's writes a bunch of really great game-lit books. But yeah, the cards are just absolutely phenomenal. They feel great. They look great. They have really, really fun sort of flavor text at the bottom of all of them. So this one is Cisca, do you know Dave Wilmarth? So this is Dave.
I think I might.
He writes like Shadow Sun Survival. I love his card. I think he's kind of this Hellion bard. And so the flavor text on here says, "Pull up a chair and hit your neighbor with it. This next song is gonna hurt." So every card has just like this really, really fun flavor text. This one is hard to see. It's a little bit dark, but it's like a type sort of a war draft. And the flavor text is, "They have a big heart full of hate for you." So that's the flavor text. Yeah, they're really, really great. We're running the Kickstarter for about the next 3 weeks. And we just would really love everybody's support. This is a passion project. We make our money from selling books, so this isn't really something that we anticipate making a lot of money on. This is just something to do because we love making cool stuff. We love having an excuse to commission really, really cool art. We love games that bring people together and make you want to punch them. That's what friendship's all about, is playing games and hating each other.
At least that's how it works in the Horde family.
So I will admit I am super excited, and part of me can't wait to see how quickly my mother tries to ban this game.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna play it at the house. I just backed the Kickstarter.
Oh no.
On my socials.
You have to understand, my mother banned us from playing Munchkin as kids.
Oh.
We were not allowed to play it with any member of unless there was a member who we were not related to playing with it.
So they didn't murder each other.
According to my mother, it brought out the worst characteristics in all of her children.
Yeah, this is going to be worse.
Yeah, if Munchkin does that to you, don't play this game ever. And again, it's not super complicated. The rules aren't super hard. It really is designed to be learned fast, to be played on the go, to have a good time, and then you can also use the deck for any other games, for rummy or poker or whatever else you want. So it's really, really cool. The art is great, and it gives you these great glimpses. We have a lot of really sort of diehard fans for the Viridian Gate Online series and universe. It's a really fun, awesome series. Sort of the premise behind it is there's this cataclysmic asteroid that's about to wipe out a big chunk of humanity, and millions of people, including our plucky roster of characters, take a gamble on this new, wildly unsafe technology that allows them to digitize themselves. But the catch is the only server big enough to hold them all is a giant fantasy MMO video game server. So they survive the apocalypse, but now they're all permanently stranded as sort of digital avatars in this ultra immersive fantasy world. So we got a lot of really great supporters, great readers. And so being able to explore all of these characters and all of these monsters and all of this awesome stuff that we see in the books has just been, it's been a blast.
Well, I think one of the coolest aspects, not to take anything away from the premise of the system, is that the artwork is very polished.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
very clean. Like it's one of the great things about Kickstarters and Indiegogos is that you have a lot of talented people that are putting forth their best foot and just coming out with the greatest stuff, more so than any large corporation that can. And I'm looking at this art and I'm like, if I saw this as I was walking by like a comic book store that had this system in play, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. I got to check this out. Because it is a clean and polished look.
It's really clean. It's really polished and it's fun, right? I mean, you can just kind of like go through the art and like even if you're not like a card nerd and you don't play a lot of card games, like just the art itself is so cool. And going through and reading all the little flavor texts and just enjoying it. That itself is kind of a treat.
I can't wait to play this with the family and just destroy my stepson with it.
Well, I mean, James play tested it with a 5-year-old in the room, right?
Oh, she hated it. She got so mad. I think it was after like the 4th time that I played the same ace in a row. And she's like, hey, wait a minute. You played that ace before. I'm like, yeah, I've been playing that ace every time for the past 5 hands, sweetheart. I've been palming it from the discard pile every single time. And she was just absolutely incensed. I mean, it took all of 10 minutes to make her want to walk away from the game.
So this is definitely, if for anybody who's doing dating advice, play this game before you get married to the person. I did not play Munchkin until after I married my ex-husband. He refused to ever play again with me.
So Munchkin is so much fun too.
So this should be like in the DSM-5 is marital aid game, and you're missing the angle of
no. More like divorce aid.
I'm just looking for marketing angles for him. I'm trying to be a helper out here, right?
No, the great marketing angle is, if you're a fan of Tao Wong, which you totally should be, or J Boys, which if you're not, you're wrong. Then you should totally want to back this just to get the cards so that then you can make them sign them.
It's true. We got J Boys, Chris Carney, Dakota Kraut, Michael Chatfield, Ramon Mejia, who was also on the fantasy dating game with us. I'm trying to think of the full roster. It's a bunch of them now. And then we have all of the Verdant Gate Online also has this big expanded universe where other authors like DJ write inside the universe, and we have they all have their own cards too. So yeah, it's great. And yes, it absolutely is a great marital aid. If you can play this with your spouse for half an hour and you don't want to kill each other, your marriage is great. And if you have problems, this will immediately bring all of them to the surface. And they'll be like, you cheated on that last hand of cards, just like you cheated with Deborah from The Office. And there it is. It's all out on the table.
But unlike life, Gentleman's War requires you to be gracious when you get caught.
That is true. Unlike life.
A lesson for us all.
So let's start with, since we're still talking about the game, and then we'll go into what the various perks and levels are, because that's a Kickstarter thing. If Nick has to bounce, his wife has threatened to stab him again, so we just might be calling body disposal, and we might not ever see him again. But he was here.
That's 811 on your speed dial, just to let you all know. I don't know why I know this.
But, so how many players can this game support from what range to what range? Like 2 to 10, or what is it for a game?
2 to many. You can make it as big and chaotic as you want. The feasible is probably 2 to 8.
So where's the sweet spot?
I would say 5 is the sweet spot. 4 or 5 is the sweet spot, because you do want the play to be kind of fast. Like once everyone kind of gets the rules, you want play to be pretty continuous, because that makes it easier to cheat. Because basically, as long as you can get away with the cheat and you can get the cards off the board before anybody else calls it, then it's too late. If play is already continued, and so that's kind of the fun part, where play is going really, really fast, and maybe you take cards that don't really belong to you, or you play a card that doesn't really win the battle, and you just swipe them all off the board. So in my experience, like the 4 or 5 person range is sort of perfect.
Perfect. All right. And so how long does it take you to learn this game?
It's about 5 minutes to get the basics.
Yeah, and about 15 minutes to really kind of get things going, get everybody into the groove a little bit, and then it's just endless amounts of learning card cheatery, so that you can palm cards and slide cards and steal cards and do all kinds of things without being caught.
So how
And
good are
we
you
have a
at
game
that part?
manual.
What's that?
What's that?
How good are you at that part?
I'm getting significantly better. I like as a result of this, I've been working on all of my weird wonky sleight of hand techniques and card shuffling. And boy, I want to play cards with me now. A year ago, I might have played cards with me. I want to play with me now. I can do a lot of controlled cuts and a lot of controlled shuffles to get all the cards back into my hand that I want in my hand. So, and I have DJ to thank for that. He turned me into a dirty, degenerate gambler. So thank you, DJ.
You're
So
welcome.
what you're saying is you're not welcome in Vegas anymore.
Well, they don't know that yet, but yes, I am planning to not be welcomed in Vegas pretty soon.
All right. So on a scale of percentages, where do you put the balance between required skill and strategy to win at this game and just pure poker face, thievery, and badassery?
Honestly, it's more about the continuous play and the fun. We'd never say this on Kickstarter, but it's a game that's better with a couple beverages in you, and with a couple of friends that you trust and like and want to laugh and again
And have decent sportsmanship.
Yeah, no, and really, that's one of the things we try to put it. You can only have fun cheating if there's a certain line, and James likes to push that line. And not admit when he gets caught cheating sometimes.
Oh, no.
But in the end he throws it in.
That's because DJ likes to pretend that he's catching things that aren't there.
Oh no, the worst sportsmanship. I used to host a game night when I was in the Army every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We had somebody who decided he couldn't figure out how to win at the game. He threw the game out without telling anybody. I was like, "You did what?"
Yeah, that's.
He's like, "Yeah, no, it's your game is in the." I'm like, "I can't find it." Oh, it's in the dumpster. Why is it in the dumpster?
At least he was honest enough to tell you that he threw your game out. That's something.
3 months later.
Oh yeah, that's no good.
So we do have a 40-page game manual that gets into some of the lore. It talks about how to cheat. It talks about some of the ways to win, different types of play.
Does it teach James's
short
card
game
tricks?
or long game? What's that?
Does it teach James's card tricks?
No, but we could add those in. I mean, it's still in flux,
that could
right?
be a higher level, like one-on-one coaching on how to cheat.
That is actually one of the pledge levels, is being able to play a game with James Hunter. A privilege for us all.
So let's talk about that. What are the levels of backing? Like, you can back at this level for this much. Like, what are we looking at here?
All right, DJ, run them through. You know this way better than I do.
Are we going back to the military thing? I don't think I'm allowed to run people through on a PG-13 show, right?
Yeah, we won't judge.
So I'll just run you through. Basically, what we've done is we've put as our first level is just giving you the manual. So you can get the digital manual for $10. That'll let you take any deck of cards and actually start playing this game. So if it sounds fun, but you don't have 20 or $50 to sink into the custom card deck, which is really nice. But if you can't do that and you've already got a deck of cards for $10, you can get the manual. And then we kind of rise through the levels at 25, 50, 75, and 100 with more and more card decks. And it's kind of a scaling thing where you get them at a slightly more advantageous price at each level. At the 100 level, we also
there's also a physical manual that comes at some of the higher levels.
Yeah, exactly. So starting from the 50 level, we send you a physical manual with the 2 decks of cards. And 2 decks is pretty much what you need in order to play with about 4 players, which is kind of what James said, the sweet spot. At the 100 level, we also give you a novella that's basically centered in the world of Gentleman's War, specifically in VGO in the world of Gentleman's War. We've got a whole plot line built around that, so you can actually get the story that involves the characters. And I think, part of the neat bit about having cards that are individually designed is that you actually tell yourself a story as you play. And then rising beyond that, we have a group call with us, the creators, so we can talk about Gentleman's War, how it was designed, about VGO for the fans. Then we start layering in some more novellas. We start throwing in some signed copies of books. At the higher levels, you can get basically the entire library, Viridian Gate Archives, James's series, all the other series signed and sent to you. At the highest level, which is level 9,000.
No. We got to plug the 1,000. So $1,000 is a lot
That's
of money,
true.
but the perk at the $1,000 level is we will cardify you. So if you have $1,000 that you want to drop and you want to actually be immortalized forever by our awesome artist and turned into an amazing card with awesome flavor text, you can absolutely pick up that perk.
So there's actually two levels. There's at the 1,000, we're going to do digital art for each of the suits. So we've got 52 slots where you can be part of kind of like a Dogs at Play for that suit as drawn by our artist. And at the 2,000 level, we're going to do 13 cards for an entirely new suit called the Travelers, which is what the gamers are called in the game. And so up to 13 people get to be a card just like those authors were.
So when, I saw that the backing is 17,000 and you're at 25% right now. And it only recently went live at the time of recording. If you don't get the backing, does that mean that the game that already exists isn't going to be sold, or what's going to happen? How does that work?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we'd probably take another stab at it and build a mailing list and try it later. It's a little bit too good to just throw out. I think we could probably do some more play testing. We do have it set up so that you can play it in the tabletop simulator in Steam. So we could definitely do some more rounds. We could work with some card shops to kind of really let them get their hands on the decks because they really are nice. Yeah. And we could do another round of this. When we were working with a consultant actually to make sure that this thing landed. And he said it was never a question that we were going to get funded as long as we could get it in front of the right people. So if it takes another try to put it in the right people, but so far we've been through 5 days and we've covered over 30% of the funding. So, so far so good. And we hope the people who have already signed up will continue to share it because what we'd really like to do, and I know James says we don't want to make a lot of money out of this, but I want to blow this completely out of the water because then we can do some really neat stuff with additional decks, foil on the cards, embossing, better tuck boxes, and just really kind of make this a really nice product.
And that's one of the big things about the project is it's fairly low risk. Like a lot of Kickstarter projects, it's like you're funding an idea. There's still a lot of research. There's still a lot of manufacturing. Like we have all of the art assets. It's all done. So really the cost is that we have to produce all of these materials, and there's certain breakpoints for bulk deck buys that you need to be able to hit for them to print sort of in sufficient quantities to get some of those nicer features. But that's it. I mean, so really like even if it didn't fund it, I think it's going to fund. People are excited. It's a great product. But I mean, we have all of this stuff done. It's just a question of can we produce enough decks to make it financially viable for us and all the people that want them.
Yeah, I mean, speaking as a gamer, one of the things I love about this is the fact that you can tell the product value is really there and that you've put it into as a good quality product. At this point, I've gotten to the point I have so many games that unless I think that it's the product value is there, that it's well made, things like that, I'm not buying it. Yeah. So because I have over 60 games and too many Pokemon cards.
Oh my god. Me and my daughter are really into the Pokemon. We've been playing a lot of Pokemon Unite that just came out. Been doing a lot of that, but we got a lot of Pokemon cards too.
Is that before or after you guys are doing the My Little Pony thing?
Hey, you don't need to judge me. All right, I hear it in your voice that I don't care. I'm gonna like the things that I like, and you can stow it. You can stow it. I'm gonna go watch My Little Pony with my daughter, and then we're gonna beat up on some internet trolls in Pokemon Unite. That's how we're gonna roll.
You know what? I still remember there was this guy. He was singing Britney Spears song as he did PT, and he turned around. Somebody was making fun of him, and he looked at the guy and he goes, "I have a Ranger tab. Do you?" And they went, "No," and he just kept going, and it was like. And the guy's just like, I just got my ass schooled to me. because he was like, you know what you like.
Yeah, like what you like. I like Taylor Swift, and Shake It Off is one of the best songs ever made. I don't care. I don't care who knows that. It's great. Every time I get a bad review, I turn on Shake It Off by Taylor Swift to have a little dance party. I'm not going to show that to you. I'm not going to show it to you, but that happens.
My son likes Fall Out Boy. So
that's just how you roll in the Marine Corps. But, we don't judge. Not everyone's good enough to be Army infantry, so we'll move on. So, all right. So we've talked about the Kickstarter levels, and we've talked about some of the cards and what we're doing. So let's assume you get your whole 17 grand, and you have to think, well, crap, what are we going to add? So in your dream world, if you get all the funding and all the things, what's next?
Well, we've got several additional suits that we have planned already. So that would be one thing. And then, quality of the product already, things that every single backer is going to benefit from. So, doing a gold foil instead of some of the flat gold on the cards, being able to do embossing on the tuck box, brand stickers so that it's really kind of a nice product for people who collect them, are pretty praised. We might do a higher quality paper stock, make sure they slide really well. And really, it can be anything from booster packs to doing an alternate, right? We can do alternate versions.
I card sleeve everything.
And card sheets as well. We can do card sheets as well for people who want to put it up on the wall. There's a ton of stuff we can do with this.
Some of these would make amazing posters.
Yeah.
Since we have all the line art, we've even considered. I don't know if this is something we've talked about, including in Kickstarter, but we have absolutely talked about putting together an adult coloring book because we have all of the just the line art with none of the coloring done for all of this awesome art. And just my wife loves those things. She sits down, she just gets lost in it. It's meditative a little bit for her. So we've talked about doing that too. But there's so many cool things that we could do. And really, DJ's right. It's about we're going to put out, even at the basic level, we're going to put out a great product. But as we get more money, as we get more funding, we can bring it up a notch and just make it that much more polished, that much better for everyone involved. And then we can start adding on those additional suits, those additional perks, and just really make it something awesome. More awesome than it already is, because it's already pretty freaking awesome.
So assuming that, you're up for 30 days and people, it's close to the holidays, people are prepping early for, reasons that we won't go into. If people aren't able to make things to back it in time, will it be available afterwards for sale if it gets backed?
We'll have to see.
Okay, that's not something you've considered?
No, we've considered it. I think, just from a business standpoint, I know James wants to get his hands on some extra decks because they're just really good. Out to people.
And I collect a lot of custom decks. I really like custom card decks, and I collect a lot of them.
Like my local game store has a lot of things. I swear it's like they purchase things straight from Kickstarter or something, because you'll go in and they'll be like, here's the Kickstarter thing, and you're like, okay. Now it is not as good of a price point as if I'd ordered it straight from Kickstarter.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's I'm totally willing to eat that cost extra for something. That might be how I got a couple games.
So that is one of the things that we're hoping to do. So some of the higher tier perks really are aimed not necessarily at individual consumers, but are really aimed at bulk buyers, game stores, people like that who are going to want to resell it. So some of those higher tiers, really you get the steepest discount in the card deck pricing, specifically because we know that the people that are buying them are probably people that are going to put out.
Are you saying nobody needs like 50 decks of the exact same?
I'm not saying that they don't need that. I'm just saying that the number of those people are rarer than the number of game stores out there. But if we have 10 or 15 really dedicated people who just want to fill their entire garage with these decks, I'm happy to oblige.
I mean, what if they want to build their Throne of Lies with these card decks?
I mean, that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm ordering so many. I need a really comfy and also tasteful Throne of Lies, and I figure that this is the best way to do it.
At least it's not Papa John boxes.
These cards.
That's true, not Papa John boxes. But all right, so I got one last question for you. So I don't know what tier you would put it in, but is there any chance, because these cards look so pretty, and if you get them and you can only get the one, like, man, do I really want to use this every day and just destroy this with all the shenanigans that are going to happen?
That's why they get card sleeves.
But that makes it harder for the sleight of hand trick. So having said that, is there any level that gets you like printable files for this so they could print their own and save the really pretty ones for collectible items and still play the game?
I don't think that we have any perk currently. I don't think that that's something that we've thought about, honestly. I
don't think we'd necessarily like. I might Steam's workshop this just so people could play on Tabletop Simulator, maybe. But I don't think we want to open source this because it's part of the IP of the VGO as well, right? So this isn't just a card game; it's backed by what is it, 21 books now, James, and coming up on 23.
Again, I am bad with numbers, so I think it's more than 21 books. I think
you ran out of fingers and toes.
Yeah, that's it. Once it's past the 10 fingers, 10 toes, I can't keep track of them.
I also sometimes ask things as hypotheticals when I know them, but it's 21 and coming up on 23 within the next couple months. And I think we're going to reuse this stuff and we're going to reuse these characters. So I don't think we'd want to jeopardize the art, but I think definitely what we will do is allow people to get additional decks at a lower cost level, especially as we climb up. I think, you know, the better this does, the more we're going to give back to the fans.
Well, I know if you sell it at something like a drive-through RPG, they actually imprint your tracking number. So if anyone pirates it from that sale, you can track it. So there are ways to protect the IP if that's the angle. But it's also a logistical nightmare. So maybe you're not ready for that just yet. Just throwing that out there because I'm curious. And I deal with a lot of people that are building STL files for printable little figures. And so that is a concern that a lot of people in that realm have. I wasn't sure if it applied, but I figured it'd make a great chance for you to pimp your shit.
I mean, the figurines would be so cool of these.
Oh yeah, see now that's
another headache entirely for James.
Well, the next project, right, James?
I love minis too. So I mean, that's the best thing about being a writer is I can have weird eclectic hobbies, and I can be like, this is a business expense. I absolutely need all of these cards that my business will fund, and also lots of minis because reasons and for writing purposes. Choreographing battles, let's say.
Yeah, I actually bought a lot of Star Wars figurines, and I had to justify that to the tax man. I'm like, honest, it was the tabletop from some battles for the book. I promise. It was totally not to play with the kids. Totally for the books.
Not.
But
the wrong line of work.
All right, so I know we've been at it for an hour and 37 minutes. I know it's
Sorry, guys.
No.
That is fine.
It's been fun. It's pumpkin time for DJ. Like I think the sun's
hypothetically an hour-long podcast that never seems to make it an hour.
We either go for 45 minutes or 2 hours. There's no in between.
Love it.
But is there anything else about this super cool project that we didn't catch? Because like you said, this is the type of show that we have to do ad hoc and sort of make it up as we go. And that is not my strong suit. There's a reason I script the hell out of everything.
He does. Seriously, you should see these questions.
It's because
I think it's worth mentioning the reason we had to set the price point or the funding goal that we had is because we want to get these printed by the U.S. Playing Card Company because we know that's super important to card collectors. So we are going with the best, and they're the ones who are responsible for the bicycle playing cards. So we are going with the best in order to give you a deck that you will be able to use.
Custom Citizens decks and all the custom decks are all done by them.
Actually, here's a question. So once everything's funded, because we're just going with the positive, everything's funded.
Yeah.
Right. Roughly, how long do you think is going to be till? And this is rough because, like, I've backed Kickstarter since 2020. I know that the shipping things can be a little weird. When do you hope to have things out to people?
So basically, based on what USPCC tells us is a conservative estimate, we think it'll be in people's hands by February, maybe March.
That's awesome for a turnaround on Kickstarters.
And James, this one
we've got the art already, which is the nice bit.
Yeah,
James,
they're all formatted. Everything's laid out. We don't have any. We've printed sample decks, not from USPC. I can't say it. But we have the sample decks. We know all of the artwork works. We know all the layouts are good. So
you have the artist locked in the basement in case you need to make those 13 new cards.
That's it. So at this point, it's just submitting the files and having the funding to bulk purchase these decks.
All right, and on a scale of like, well, let's not even scale it. How much child labor will be involved in the Hunter family as you're fulfilling this obligation? Because you do have kids that need to earn their supper.
I'm gonna be brutally honest. I wish I could get more child labor out of them. They are terribly inefficient workers. I mean, my daughter's finally getting to the place where I feel like I can exploit her a little bit. But my son, I mean, he doesn't even have self-preservation instincts at this point. Like it's my best effort to keep him from running into active traffic. There's no way I'm going to be able to get him to actually help me with anything.
Mine
so like
is
the best I can do is to get him to stay
of
away
double
from the
digits,
cards.
and there's still no survival instinct.
I mean, there's a reason women live longer. It's because men do stupid shit.
Really? I thought
we have fun doing
the survival of two soldiers.
All right. So that was a lot of fun. It was definitely something, if more comes of this, that we would enjoy having you come back to talk about.
And we'll have you guys come back and talk about your books next time, too.
I was going to be
Absolutely. This was so much fun. I had a great time.
Are you two the only authors that have written in the Viridian Gate universe?
No.
We could even do a panel on that for you. That sounds like it could be fun. And then all the shenanigans could happen in one place.
I love it.
Outstanding. All right. So clearly this interview is winding down. Was there anything we didn't ask that you need to tell us before we close this puppy?
Nope. Just check us out. Check out all of our books at shadowalleypress.com. Back the Kickstarter at gentleman'swar.com. And thank you guys so much for having us on. This was such an absolute blast. And thank you for DJ for sacrificing his precious sleep and staying up until 4 a.m. Geneva time to be able to be here. I really appreciate it. I messaged him like last minute and I was like, hey, buddy, you want to come do this interview at 3 a.m. in the morning? And he was like,
and I was super pumped.
Bro. I'm there.
Outstanding. All right. So before we let you go, dear listener, viewer, all the cool people, again, gentleman'swar.com is the Kickstarter. Go back and share it with your friends if you can't afford it. Somebody will, and then you can buy it later if they get it their goals met. But we would like to remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books. And with that in mind, if you do write a review, it is urban legend that when an independent author gets 100 views, they are awarded a unicorn. So do your part.
Thank you.
And actually, in James's case, he opted not to get the unicorn. He got 200 reviews and got a My Little Pony.
That's true. Man, I think on my Audible for VGO, I have 26,000 reviews. And I have a fleet of My Little Ponies. So it's pretty good.
True story. Your daughter appreciates all the reviews they left to make that happen.
It's a true story. It's great.
And those even survived the purge where they said, oh, you know this person. Yeah, your friends on Facebook. Yeet, yeet. Yep, that one. Yeet, that too.
Yep.
All right. So, James, can you tell listeners how they can find you on the wild, wild interwebs?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my own personal author site. It's authorjamesahunter.com. Again, I run Shadow Alley Press with my wife, Jeanette. So all of my books are also there. If you're interested in Viridian Gate Online, you can actually pick up the first 3 for free on Audible. They're in the Audible Plus catalog. And you can also find me on the Facebooks at writer James A. Hunter.
Outstanding. And those will all be in the show notes, dear listener. And now, finally, last but not least, DJ, how can they find you on the wild, wild interwebs?
So I'm SEO'd up to the ceiling. So if you just type in DJ Bodden in Google, you will find me. You can find me on Amazon. You can find me at djboddenauthor.com. And you can find my not so boring vampire books, my Viridian Gate Online books, and my Fivefold Universe sci-fi books, all in that wonderful place.
Outstanding. And you can, Doc, do you want to try it again? You want to see where they can find you, or you want me to cover this?
What?
Are you ready to?
You do it.
All right. You can find us.
Why am I going to do more work?
I don't know. You've had enough to drink. I might be able to convince you to do evil things. All right. You can find us on our website.
Sober.
This is also true. You can find us on our website at anchor.fm/blasters tack and tack blades, anchor.fm/blasters -and blades. You can find us on the Twitters over at SF_fantasy_show, Sierra Foxtrot _fantasy_show. It's almost like the SF means sci-fi. You can email the show at blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. I promise Cisca even answers it occasionally. Blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. You can follow our shenanigans over there on the face space with facebook.com/groups/blasters and blades podcast. Again, /groups/blasters and blades podcast. And you can support the show over on our website at anchor.fm/blasters tack and tack blades for as little as 99 cents a month. You can help keep the lights on. Or if you want to do a one-time donation, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section that it is for the podcast. And I will keep my co-hosts Doc Cisca and Nick Garber duly intoxicated. They will drink until their liver surrenders.
Never surrender.
Never quit. That's right. All right, Doc, bring us home.
Okay, thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to go back this amazing Kickstarter and share it with all your friends and families. Don't keep a good Kickstarter secret. For Nick Garber, who actually showed up amazingly enough, J.R. Handley, I'm Cisca. This is the Blasters and Blades podcast. We'll be back next time with our more amazing people at the same time, same place, indulging our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, picking on JR, things that go boom, and pineapple on pizza.
Heresy.
Pineapple on pizza.
Wait, what?
See?
James, I thought we had a bromance going. How could you ruin it?
I know.
I'm sorry. It's good. It's good. It's the sweet and the savory. They
right.
pair well together.
DJ, this is your time to redeem your partner over here. What do you think?
I also like pineapple on pizza.
All right, I'm in.
Yes!
Oh, you're the odd man out.